The murmurs of the elite whispered through the air like a chilling breeze slicing through the warm ambiance of the lawyer's office. At just 17, Maya, with her black skin and natural curls, stood out like a lone flower in a barren field. Her simple attire did nothing to shield her from the judgmental eyes that seemed to question her very presence. Who let the cleaning lady into the meeting? The voice of Victor Almeida, nephew of the late Eduardo Almeida, rang out sharp and mocking, followed by a ripple of suppressed chuckles. Maya, however, remained a statue of composure, her gaze fixed on the empty chair that symbolized her uncle's absence. Her Aunt Christina, draped in opulence, didn't even try to mask her disdain. It must be another one of my brother's social causes. She probably came to ask for a donation. She scoffed, her voice dripping with condescension. Maya inhaled deeply, feeling the weight of solitude in this room of wealth and entitlement. Yet she refused to let the sting of their words show. Her eyes wandered over the room, absorbing the legacy of Eduardo Almeida, the framed certificates, the travel photographs, all testaments to a life of building empires. The girl is probably lost. Ricardo, the eldest son and the steward of the family business, remarked dismissively. Someone should escort her out before Mr. Garcia arrives. It's embarrassing. But as Enrique Garcia, the family's stoic lawyer of 30 years, entered with his brown briefcase, a subtle shift in the room's atmosphere occurred. His face, lined with the wisdom of age, showed no surprise as he greeted each family member with a curt nod. Miss Maya, he said, his voice breaking through the thick tension. Please, gesturing to the only empty seat next to his desk. A gasp of disbelief swept the room. Victor nearly choked on his champagne, and Christina's grip on her designer purse tightened, her knuckles blanching. The silence that followed was profound, laden with the unexpected turn of events. Ricardo, with a slight tug on his Italian tie, interjected, "But do you know this girl?" The lawyer's response was a solemn nod, his gaze sweeping over the puzzled assembly. Of course you should all know her too, he continued, his voice tinged with a mix of urgency and reverence. Maya Oliveira, Donna Celeste's daughter. She has graced this house with her presence since she was 12, aiding her mother in the weekend cleanings. His words hung in the air, heavy with significance. The atmosphere shifted palpably as Christina's voice cut through the silence laced with disdain. The maid's daughter, what on earth is she doing at a private family will reading? Maya, in response, settled into her chair, her back as straight as an arrow, her expression serene despite the storm brewing around her. She had vowed to herself through tears and trials that she would not let them see her break. Enrique Garcia, with the precision of a seasoned conductor, opened his briefcase. We are convened here for the final testament of Eduardo Almeida. He declared, his voice echoing the gravity of the occasion. Eduardo had succumbed to cancer just 3 weeks prior, his battle now a memory that haunted the room. Amidst this solemnity, Patricia, Eduardo's niece, seized a moment to snap a covert photo of Maya. Intruder. At will, routing, she captioned, her fingers dancing over her phone, the post quickly gaining traction online with comments like, "Lackey trying to pull a fast one, even after their boss is dead." Whispers circulated, with Victor murmuring to his confidants, "I bet my uncle left some change for charity. Maybe 10,000 for the girl." Some nonsense. Yet unnoticed by the chattering crowd, Maya's eyes were fixed on the lawyer's hands, watching as he delicately unsealed an envelope. To them, she was invisible, a mere backdrop for their cruel jests. Before proceeding, Garcia paused, his voice softening. Eduardo left a video to be shown before the formal reading. Ricardo, ever the skeptic, rolled his eyes. Another one of my father's theatrical antics, he muttered under his breath, eager to cut through what he perceived as unnecessary drama. But the lawyer, undeterred, activated the screen, setting the stage for revelations that would soon unfold. As the image of Eduardo Almeida flickered on the screen, his face bore the marks of a long battle with illness, yet his eyes sparkled with a resolve that could not be extinguished. If you are watching this, he started, his voice wavering, but firm, then I have departed this world, and I imagine you are all keen to discover how I have allocated my estate." He paused, his gaze seeming to pierce through the recording, scrutinizing each person in the room. "But before we delve into that," Eduardo's voice softened, "I have a question for you. Can any of you tell me the name of Donna Celeste's daughter?" A hush fell over the assembly. Ricardo's brows furrowed in confusion. Victor nervously scratched his neck. Christina feigned interest in her manicure. "I thought as much," Eduardo said, his expression tinged with sorrow. "That girl has been part of our household for 5 years, assisting her mother since she was just 12. And yet none of you, my own kin, ever cared to know her name." Maya felt a tightness in her throat, her heart heavy as Eduardo's words washed over them. He continued, his tone now sharp with disappointment. "I've observed how you've treated her, how you've treated all our staff as if they were mere shadows easily overlooked and discarded." His eyes hardened, reflecting a profound judgment. "That told me all I needed to know about the kind of people you have become." The room was thick with tension. Patricia's phone slipped from her grasp. Victor's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. Ricardo shifted uncomfortably, his chair creaking under his weight. What none could fathom amidst this palpable discomfort was the profound narrative hidden behind the quiet dignity of that young black teenager whom they had all disregarded. A narrative Eduardo had uncovered in his final days, one that was about to shake the very foundations of their world. What secrets did this tale of prejudice and justice hold? How would it alter the destinies of all those gathered? Eduardo Almeida's voice trembled with emotion as it echoed through the hushed room, each word a poignant reminder of the lessons life was about to teach. "In these past few months," he said, his voice frail, yet filled with a heavy heart, "I've watched how you've treated those around you. Your interactions with nurses, cleaners, drivers, they've left me deeply saddened." He paused, his breath ragged, the weight of his observations pressing down on him. "And then there was Maya." His voice softened, carrying a note of admiration. "While you overlooked her, I saw an extraordinary young woman. She studied at night after a long day's work, cared for her ailing mother, and still found time to delve into the books in my library." Ricardo, unable to contain his rising frustration, sprang into his feet, his voice sharp with incredulity. "This is preposterous. Garcia, surely this can't be within the bounds of the law." The lawyer, maintaining his composure, simply stated, "Everything is in impeccable legal order, Mr. Ricardo." On the screen, Eduardo's face broke into a knowing smile. "I know you're taken aback. Ricardo, you're probably already debating the legality of this." The eldest son's face paled as he heard his own thoughts echoed by his father. "But what you are unaware of," Eduardo continued, "is that I've spent the last 3 months conversing with Maya. She would sit with me during her breaks, sharing her dreams of studying law." Patricia, feeling the sting of guilt, attempted to erase the shaming post she had made. Alas, it was too late. The digital world had already carried it far and wide. "This is Maya Aya," Eduardo's voice carried on, "daughter of Donna Celeste, who has served our household for 15 years, even when Christina reduced her wages to fund her 4th luxury car." Christina's face flushed with the heat of shame. "Maya," Eduardo's voice tightened with sorrow, "whom Ricardo humiliated by spilling water on her documents. He forced her to clean the floor on her knees, branding her incompetent, all the while unaware that she had just received news of her mother's dire need for expensive surgery." The screen went black abruptly, leaving the room in a stunned silence. Garcia, with a solemn gesture, opened another envelope. "There is one more video to show, but before—" As the room seethed with tension, Victor could no longer contain his outrage. "I need to read the main terms of the will. This is absurd," he exploded, his voice echoing through the room like a thunderclap. "A little maid can't inherit the empire our family has built for generations." Maya, her voice steady and clear, pierced through the tumult. "Your family built nothing, Mr. Victor. Your great-uncle Eduardo started out selling fruit at the market. The only ones born with a silver spoon in their mouths here are you." A silence fell upon the room, thick and palpable. Garcia, sensing the gravity of the moment, cleared his throat and began to read with solemnity. I, Eduardo Almeida, leave to Maya Ayala 51% of the shares of Almada Incorporos, my primary residence, and all properties listed in Appendix A, as well as the sum of 20 million Ray in various investments. This is undue influence. Ricardo bellowed, his face contorted with rage. That girl manipulated a sick man. Garcia raised his hand, a gesture calling for calm. If you allow me to continue, there are conditions. Maya will only take full control at age 21. Until then, the company will be managed by a board led by myself and Dr. Luisa Mendez. Luisa Mendez, whose name had just been invoked, interrupted Christina with a question that hung in the air. The doctor, what does she have to do with this? As if on cue, the door opened and in walked a middle-aged black woman dressed in an elegant suit. Her eyes met Maya's and she smiled warmly. Dr. Mendez was much more than your brother's doctor, Garcia explained, his voice softening. She was the one who introduced Maya to Eduardo after witnessing how the young woman cared for Donna Celeste in the hospital, even after you fired her when her mother fell ill. Dr. Luisa nodded, her gaze steady and reflective. Donna Celeste and I studied together before circumstances led us down different paths. When I found her at the hospital battling a cancer similar to Eduardo's, I couldn't help but notice what an extraordinary daughter she had. What no one realized was that this seemingly unlikely connection would weave the threads of destiny in such an unexpected way. 3 months ago, in a moment of desperation, Maya, a young black woman, stood in a hospital hallway, her eyes pleading. She had gone to implore Ricardo, a man of influence and wealth, for an advance on her mother's medicine. Instead of compassion, she received humiliation. I don't have time for employee issues. Ricardo snapped, his voice echoing through the sterile corridor. If you can't afford the medicine, perhaps you should find another job. Maya's heart sank, her tears silently falling as she retreated to the service stairs where she was found by Dr. Luisa. The doctor, moved by Maya's plight, made a choice that would pivot the fates of many. She took Maya to meet Eduardo Almeida, a powerful man now tethered to his hospital bed. Garcia, with a solemn air, inserted another flash drive into the projector. There's one more video, he announced. Eduardo's image flickered onto the screen, his frailty evident, yet his resolve unmistakable. If you are watching this video, it means my family disputes my decisions. He began, his voice steady, despite his weakened state. I assure you my mental faculties are intact. These decisions were made after months of careful observation and recorded conversations that reveal the true nature of each of you. He paused, taking a labored breath. Maya did not manipulate me. In fact, she resisted my offer with all her might. It took considerable persuasion to convince her to accept. His eyes seemed to pierce through the screen. Look in the mirror, all of you. You are not my heirs because of your achievements, but merely by the luck of birth. The screen then displayed a montage of shocking scenes. Ricardo berating employees, Christina coldly dismissing the loyal Donna Celeste Victor, mocking an elderly driver, and Patricia uttering racist slurs. Each clip was a stark revelation, a mirror held up to the darkest corners of their souls. Eduardo had meticulously chronicled their daily cruelties. What makes this moment even more poignant, one might wonder, as the weight of truth settled heavily in the room. What Eduardo was doing was nothing short of extraordinary. Dr. Luisa declared, her hand gently resting on Mia's shoulder. He wasn't merely constructing a legal case. He was endowing Mia with something far more precious than mere wealth, the power to revolutionize the very system itself. The Almeida family, in their opulent ignorance, failed to perceive that this seemingly humiliated teenager possessed a trait Eduardo had desperately searched for among his kin: true compassion. When Eduardo presented Mia with the opportunity for complete vengeance against those who had wronged her, she paused, not from fear, but from a vision far grander than mere retribution. I don't merely wish to witness their downfall, Mia had confided to Eduardo during one of their profound moonlit discussions. I desire for them to grasp the gravity of their actions. It was this noble sentiment that sealed the fate of the Almeida dynasty, entrusting its legacy to someone who looked beyond immediate vengeance, recognizing that real power resides not in subjugation, but in transformation. Ricardo, his face flushed with indignation, advanced towards Maya, his finger aimed like a weapon. This is preposterous! I will challenge this will in every court. From the shadows, two security guards emerged, their presence a silent testament to Garcia's meticulous foresight. Maya, with a serene composure, responded, "What right are you speaking of, Mr. Ricardo? The right to be born in Almeida. Because as far as I'm aware, the only right you've exercised with any proficiency is the right to demean those you deem lesser." Dr. Luisa, with a purposeful motion, opened her briefcase and retrieved a tablet. Eduardo anticipated this confrontation would be challenging. That's why he crafted something unique for his family. An aerial image of a slum appeared on the screen. Christina, with a dismissive sneer, remarked, "Why would we know anything about a slum?" "Because your family owns it," Louisa countered, her voice steady. "Or rather, they did. These lands were covertly acquired by Eduardo's grandfather, with the heavy heart, displaced 200 families 70 years ago to erect the company's first grand shopping mall." De La Louisa, her voice steady yet charged with emotion, continued. "The properties listed in Appendix A are not opulent mansions or lavish apartments. No, they are modest plots of land in communities that the Almeida family has claimed through dubious means over the decades." "And what does that have to do with anything?" Victor hissed, his tone laced with frustration. Maya, with a triumphant smile, responded, "It's quite simple. Those properties are now mine. I've already signed the documents transferring them back to the families who rightfully live there free of charge." The room erupted into chaos. Ricardo's chair clattered to the floor, and Patricia's tears flowed freely. "You don't understand." Maya's voice rose above the tumult. "I don't want your money. I seek justice. And justice means returning what was unjustly taken." Garcia, clearing his throat to restore some semblance of order, added, "There's more. The transfer of the company's shares to Maya has already been registered. Her first act as majority shareholder was to approve a compensation package for all employees who were unjustly dismissed over the past decade." "That will ruin the company," Ricardo shouted, his face flushed with anger. "It's not revenge," Maya countered, her voice calm yet firm. "It's reparation. There's a fundamental difference." Dr. Luisa turned on the television, revealing a live news report. Dozens of former employees were being called back, receiving their severance with tears of joy and relief. "This is happening right now," Louisa explained, her eyes gleaming with a mix of sorrow and satisfaction. "We planned everything to coincide with the reading of the will." "You've destroyed us," Christina whispered, her face contorted with rage. Mia, standing by the window, her gaze fixed on the horizon, declared, "The Almeida Empire is not being destroyed, Mrs. Christina. It is being transformed. Its market value might dip for a few months, but it will recover. The difference now is that the profits will be distributed fairly. You, with all your experience, should understand the necessity of change. To run a conglomerate of this magnitude, Ricardo, you've been challenged beyond your wildest dreams. In less than a year, you'll be on your knees pleading for assistance, for guidance. And you know what? You're right. I don't possess the experience to navigate this vast corporate ocean. But here's the twist. I won't be steering the ship at all." Garcia, with a knowing smile, pressed a button, and the doors swept open with a dramatic flare. In walked 5 individuals, their presence a silent testament to resilience and determination. 3 women and 2 men, each adorned in the simple attire of the diligent worker, their eyes alight with a fire that had long been ignored. "Meet the new board of directors of Almeida Incorporos," Maya announced, her voice ringing with pride and conviction. "These are former employees cast out by your father when they dared to dream of unity of a union. Here stand people with decades of hands-on experience, brimming with innovative ideas that were once dismissed simply because they originated from the ground floor." A man with hair as gray as the wisdom in his eyes stepped forward. "Hello, Mr. Ricardo. Remember me, Carlos Mendez. I spent 25 years in your finance department until I was let go for suggesting a profit-sharing plan for our employees." "This is madness." Victor's voice boomed, his face a storm of disbelief. You can't just hand over the company to these people. Dr. Louisa, her demeanor serene, responded, "It's already done. The paperwork was signed long before you set foot in this room today. You will still hold your minority shares, receive dividends, and partake in annual meetings just like any other shareholder." Ricardo, his world crumbling, sank into a chair, his face as pale as the moon. "My father would never have done this," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper. "Your father did this," Maya replied, her tone gentle yet firm, "because in the end he understood something profound. The true legacy isn't the wealth we amass, but the lives we uplift." Patricia, fury igniting within her, stood abruptly. "You won't get away with this. I have connections in the media. I'll expose this charade." Maya exchanged a knowing glance with Garcia, who reactivated the screen. There, a video played capturing Patricia in a moment of disgrace, her words dripping with venom as she made racist remarks about the waiters. "I have hours upon hours of such recordings," Mia said calmly, "capturing each of you in your most unguarded moments, revealing the true essence of your character when you think no one is watching. One thing is clear. Victor, once the epitome of arrogance, now appeared as if he had aged a decade overnight." His voice trembled slightly. "What do you want from us?" Maya, with a voice as steady as the morning light, responded, "I want you to learn, to truly understand, perhaps for the very first time, what it means to be powerless. To feel the sting of judgment, not based on your merits, but on the color of your skin or your social standing." Carlos Mendez stepped forward, his presence commanding yet calm. "We didn't come to dismantle this empire, but to transform it. We were brought back not for vengeance, but because of our skills, which you've never acknowledged." Dr. Louisa, with folders in hand, distributed them among the family members. "Here are your choices," she said, her voice echoing with the weight of consequence. "You can challenge the will. We're prepared for a legal marathon. Or you can choose a path of peaceful transition." Ricardo, his arrogance now a mere whisper, inquired, "What kind of transition?" Garcia explained, "You retain your homes and receive a monthly stipend. In return, you engage in a social awareness program, volunteer in the very communities your family has exploited, and partake in courses on diversity and inclusion. A year of seeing the world through new eyes. And if we refuse," Christina's voice was laced with defiance, though her defeat was palpable. Maya, her gaze unyielding yet compassionate, replied, "Refusal is an option with no punishment, only the natural repercussions. The videos will surface, the lawsuits will persist, and your names will forever be linked with the legacy of exploitation Eduardo sought to amend." The silence that enveloped the room was thick with realization. One by one, the Almeida family members understood they were not merely confronting a young girl, but a force of change. Ricardo, still clutching at straws, muttered, "This won't work. You're just a girl. This empire will crumble in your hands." Maya's smile was filled with genuine compassion, a beacon of hope, in a room shadowed by doubt and resistance. "You still don't grasp it, do you? That world you cling to, it was never solely yours, nor is it mine now. It belongs to every soul who has laid a brick, who has toiled day by day building something greater than themselves." She turned her gaze to the window, her eyes drinking in the world outside, a world irrevocably changed since that fateful day. What the Almeida family could not yet fathom was that this teenager was not merely orchestrating a flawless scheme of retribution. Oh no, she was igniting a silent revolution, one that would ripple out from that very room, challenging the institutions that had perpetuated the same cycle of social injustice for generations. As the powerful quaked in their polished shoes, something truly miraculous began to unfurl in the marginalized communities. Hope not from hollow promises, but from tangible actions that for the first time placed the reins of power into the hands of those long overlooked. 6 months have elapsed since that pivotal reading of the will. The once grandiose headquarters of Mater Incorporos, a veritable shrine to elitism, now hosts a community center on its ground floor, where the youth from the outskirts are gifted with free classes in entrepreneurship, technology, and civil rights. Maya strolled through the corridors, her voice a melody of greetings, calling each employee by name, a practice Eduardo had endeavored to establish, but which his family had always shunned. The walls previously adorned with opulent paintings by European masters now showcased vibrant works by local artists from those very marginalized communities. Last quarter's profits surged by 12%, announced Carlos Mendez. Now the chief financial officer, his voice tinged with pride. The employee profit-sharing initiative has been nothing short of revolutionary. Productivity is soaring. Maya's smile was radiant. And the housing project on the former estates, she inquired. 300 families have already been granted definitive deeds, responded Dr. Louisa, who oversaw the social responsibility program. The worker cooperatives are set to commence operations next month. What astounded outside observers years was Maya's effortless navigation through this corporate labyrinth, as if she had always been meant to lead. Maya, at the tender age of 17, had already woven herself into the very fabric of Almeida Incorporaciones. Her presence is integral as the foundations of the buildings the company erected. Despite the weight of her final year at high school, she dedicated 4 hours daily to the company, entrusting operational decisions to the board, while she fiercely guarded the strategic vision. Her remaining time was a delicate balance between her studies now at a prestigious private school, where her own foundation had secured her a full scholarship, in the tender care of her mother, Donna Celeste, who at last was under the attentive eyes of skilled medical professionals. In the bustling heart of the city, Ricardo stood a mere shadow of his former self. His eyes, once bright with the promise of legacy, now watched a billboard that seemed to mock him. The slogan, "Building a Fairer Future," blazed alongside Maya's image and the diverse faces of the new board. His once impeccable suit was now a memory, replaced by modest attire, his luxury car sold to settle debts. He alone among the Almeidas had scorned Maya's offer, too proud to partake in the social awareness program, choosing instead to wage a futile legal battle, only to watch his reputation crumble under the weight of Eduardo's meticulously gathered evidence. As his phone buzzed with a notification for an administrative assistant position in the social reintegration program, Ricardo felt the ground beneath him give way. Here he was contemplating employment at the very company he once believed was his birthright. On the same pavement, Patricia, burdened with materials for an anti-racism education course, approached. Her career as an influencer had ended in disgrace after a misguided post that backfired spectacularly. She was the first to embrace the program, finding in it not just redemption, but transformation. "Ricardo," she called, her voice tinged with hesitation. He raised his head, his eyes heavy with shame. "The program isn't as bad as it seems," she assured him. "In fact, it's been transformative. Maya doesn't aim to ruin us. She genuinely wants us to learn and grow. Isn't that what we all need, a chance to rebuild and understand?" Tears, which Ricardo had been valiantly attempting to restrain, now cascaded freely down his cheeks. At the company headquarters, Maya was at the helm of a meeting with international investors, each captivated by the socially responsible business model she had so brilliantly implemented. In the lobby, journalists eagerly awaited their pens, poised for an interview on the success story that had already become a subject of study in universities. One of the French investors, perplexed, posed a question. "Why not crush that family entirely? They treated you with such disdain." With a serene smile, Maya responded, "True transformation does not spring from punishment, but from understanding. They needed to glimpse the world outside their sheltered existence." She continued, "Some are already embracing this new perspective in those who rejected your offer, like Ricardo." "Sometimes," Mia interjected, "people need to reach the depths of despair to finally gaze upward." Just this morning, she had received a message. He was contemplating joining the reintegration program. Unknown to everyone present, Mia's true ambition had never been revenge. When Eduardo on his deathbed had offered her complete dominion to exact retribution on his family, she paused, her voice steady, yet filled with conviction. "I do not wish for a world where we merely exchange who holds the reins of oppression. My aim is to transform the system itself." In those final days, Eduardo realized he had found not just an heir to his wealth, but to his core values, values his own kin had never truly grasped. On the one-year anniversary of New Almea Incorporos, Maya unveiled the Eduardo Almeida Institute for Social Equity. Among the audience, filled with scholarship recipients and new employees, sat Christina Victor, and to everyone's surprise, Ricardo. Clad in his intern uniform, he looked out of place, yet undeniably present, wrestling with the new world he was stepping into. Prejudice, Maya declared, is not vanquished merely by confronting the prejudiced. It is defeated when we dismantle structures and provide people the chance to see beyond their own bubbles. As she spoke, Donna Celeste watched on her heart swelling with pride from the sidelines. Imagine the palpable excitement as Maya, the once humiliated teenager, now sat confidently in the front row. Her cancer in remission, her future bright and boundless. She was not just reclaiming her life, but redefining her legacy. Little did anyone know as she entered that room that Maya was not merely inheriting a company. She was igniting a movement from community to community, from company to company. Her vision began to ripple through society, reshaping the very essence of power and privilege. Oh, how this narrative stirs the soul. If this tale of transformation from humiliation to revolution has captured your heart, consider the profound lesson it teaches. True change doesn't stem from vengeance, but from the courage to envision and enact systemic reimagination. As we draw the curtains on this inspiring journey, I extend my heartfelt thanks to each of you for joining us. Your engagement fuels our passion to bring you more stories of resilience and revolution. Don't let the flame of inspiration die here. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story has moved you, show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Let's keep the conversation going, for in every shared story, there lies the seed of another revolution. Thank you, and see you in the next chapter of our collective journey.